the realization of taxes. All that and more on the next episode of the Coffee Sessions podcast. So stay tuned. Don't go away. Hey, what's happening, ladies and gentlemen? Stephen Davidson here. Welcome to another episode of the Coffee Sessions podcast. It is a beautiful 69 degrees or 21 degrees Celsius here in Southwest Virginia. It's 12:26 p.m. Eastern Time. I've got me a nice hot cup of New England coffee, breakfast blend. Cheers. Delicious. And today we're going to talk about something that nobody can avoid even after death. Taxes. And ladies and gentlemen, I've done the research. And I've got to tell you that what I found was not only appalling, it was disgusting. We Americans are taxed to death, and even after death. Ridiculous. And the biggest tax we pay is every time we go to the pump. Matter of fact, I'm going to go ahead and stop the video real quick, and I'm going to drop that photo in right here. Okay, we're back. If you missed it, you can go ahead and back it up and pause to read. I'll also include the links below in the description as well as in the YouTube description below. But the fact that we're paying taxes, and when you do the math and just take out the sales tax, as long as the state tax and the federal government regulation taxes and whatnot, you could be paying as much as $1.50 on every gallon of gas. And guess what? All these companies that deliver goods to you from places like Amazon, Walmart, Target, or whomever does online shopping, UPS, FedEx, DHL, and various other couriers out there, that cost is passed on to you. We're under what's called the petrodollar, and that's where, if you want to determine your grocery bill for the week, you look at the gas pump prices. What people don't know is how much taxes are actually collected on it. Federal government's in the red, state government's in the yellow. The one on the left is gasoline taxes, and the one on the right is diesel fuel. The diesel fuel one's the one that gets you on the shipping part. And the federal government charges 18.4 cents per gallon on gasoline, 24.4 cents on the gallon for diesel fuel, and aviation fuel. Let me go back in here and find it real quick. Let's see here. There's the state listings. I'll have to put that photo in too, by the way. I got several photos, including the state listing taxes as well. Here we go. I spent a lot of time research on this, and it took me several days to put it together, and I had to go to several different places. Google was a huge help. But yes. Alright. There's 3 taxes on aviation gasoline, or avgas as they called it. It's right here listed below. Right here, pause to read. Right down here below. I'll put the photo in as well here in a moment. Aviation gasoline, which is a slightly leaded gasoline with some linkite and several other additives added to it. It's not the same as the old school leaded gasoline at all. In fact, it's not even real lead, it's lead substitute. It's around 100 octane. And the tax on aviation gasoline is 19.4 cents per gallon. When using, now, this is where they're going to get you on this one. If you own a plane with somebody else, like for example, let's say myself and I co-owned a plane with my cousin or something, or somebody I do business with, and I co-owned a plane with them. It's called a fractional ownership program aircraft, meaning that several parties, separate individuals, legally own part of an aircraft. And if that's the case, I will be hit along with them when we go to get fuel another 14.1 cents per gallon on top of that. So let's add that up real quick. Let's see. Point 19.4 plus 1.1. So that's another 34 cents on the gallon in taxes just for aviation gas if I co-owned a plane and didn't own it by myself, which is retarded. And for jet fuel, they call it kerosene for aviation, for use in aviation, right here. Definition of it right there. As you can see, it's 24.4 cents per gallon. And there's a little weird clause about a truck that brings it out there to it, which makes no sense. And if it's a non commercial aircraft and it's pumped on directly into the fuel tank from a non commercial vehicle, the tax rate's 21.9 or call it 22 cents per gallon. The rate of 22 cents per gallon also applies if the kerosene is transported directly into any aircraft from a qualified refueler truck. In other words, if you're parked at the terminal and they're fueling you right there, you don't get hit with that tax. Or if you do get hit with it, it's usually on a refueling truck, so they're charging you more there. So you could be paying as much as 40 cents on the gallon in jet fuel taxes. Now, this doesn't. This also there's also changes for private aircraft versus commercial. It's a long, it's pretty good sized paragraph here. A lot of it makes no sense. What else is news? But according to the Wikipedia article here, these taxes are used for air traffic control operations by the FAA or Federal Aviation Administration, and commercial aviation is the biggest use. In other words, Delta Airlines gets taxed. Now, there's something else that they don't tell you. And here's the states that collect the tax on it on top of that. I'll go ahead and stop the video, and I'm going to drop these state tax photos in here. You can pause to read and then wait till the second photo to see where your state lies and how much they charge for aviation fuel and whatnot. So stand by. Here's the photos. Pause to read both. Okay, we're back. That's for the jet fuel taxes. I also went ahead and put in the state uh, taxes for regular gasoline too. Now, if we eliminated the sales tax and the federal and state tax on diesel fuel, and each state's going to be a different amount, you can see a significant drop at the pump. I did the math for a friend of mine. Let's see where have I got it down. I've got it wrote down here somewhere. Let's see here. Yeah, his price tag was around $45 for a 15-gallon fuel tank, give or take. After I did the math and took off the state tax and the federal gasoline tax and the sales tax, it dropped down to $35 to fuel up. So instead of like $3.50 a gallon, which is what he was paying, his went down to $2.82 per gallon, and that's a huge drop right there. That's a lot. And what shocked me was that the highest state in the United States for fuel taxes was Pennsylvania. When I done the math and got rid of their taxes on fuel, ridiculous. It was over $1 per gallon that come clean off. Instead of like 68 cents per gallon, it come down to $1 and a penny off of per gallon. I'm like, my gosh, we're getting taxed to death, and there's more. If you own a fuel-friendly vehicle, like a 3-cylinder or 4-cylinder engine, electric vehicle, or even a hybrid, according to the employee at the Virginia Department of Motor Vehicles who hit Mom with the penalty for her 2011 Chevy Cruze, he specifically mentioned Honda Civic as well, that there's a $20 to $25 penalty for having a fuel-efficient car because you're not paying enough fuel taxes at the pump. It actually costs more for Mom to renew her tags on her car than it does my truck. And I pay $75 a year for that truck to keep the tags going from year to year. That's how high and expensive it's gotten. I don't get hit with a penalty because I got a V8, even though it's fuel friendly and I can go pretty far on a tank of gas. It's still not as fuel friendly as Mom's car is. But she gets hit with that penalty. I do not. Because of the engine size and whatnot. That plays a big role into it as well. But nonetheless, I digress. What's the point of buying a fuel-friendly vehicle and saving money at the pump, which could help at the grocery store and everything else, and the fact that you're pushing the electric vehicles onto us? What's the point if you're going to hit us with that penalty for not paying enough fuel tax? It's hypocritical, and you can't win. If you do get a fuel-friendly vehicle, you get hit with a tax. If you don't, you spend more at the pump. Either way, you're going to get taxed. Now, those photos I dropped in, that's not all the tax that you're paying. 9 times out of 10, you're also paying a town tax, a county tax, and I mentioned the sales tax, but not every state has a sales tax. Let's see here. Yeah, there's 5 states that do not have a statewide sales tax, but there's other taxes involved and whatnot. And those 5 states are Alaska, Delaware, Montana, New Hampshire, and Oregon. But that don't mean the counties and the towns can't charge their own tax on top of that. This is just statewide sales tax. This does not count town and county taxes. Now, there's also 12 states that do not have an income tax. And that would be Alaska, Texas, Florida, Washington State, New Hampshire, Colorado, South Dakota, Wyoming, Nevada, Tennessee, Arizona, and Pennsylvania. Tennessee's my neighbor, basically. They're literally down the road about 40 miles, give or take a tick. And I'm going to tell you, they may not have a state income tax, but they got the highest income tax. They got the highest sales tax, excuse me, on goods and services in the United States of America, which is 9.5%. They're tied with Louisiana for the same amount. Let's see. I've got it listed down here with the highest states here. Let's see here. Yeah, here it is. Yeah, 5 states with the highest average combined state and local sales tax rates. Tennessee at 9.55%, Louisiana 9.55%, Arkansas 9.44%, Washington State 9.40%, Alabama 9.24%. These are the highest states. Most expensive state sales tax right here, top 5. I'm surprised California ain't in this list, but they've got enough taxes to more than make up for it. In fact, one of the taxes they got kind of stupid too, because they just passed a ban out in the state of California for plastic bags. Yet they're still going to keep the 10-cent plastic bag fee. That's what they call it. It's not a fee, it's a tax. They just call it a fee so people won't think that they're being taxed when they actually are. Instead of getting rid of that bag fee, they passed the bag fee over from plastic bags to paper bags. Let me get this straight, Gavin Newsom, you retard. And yes, you and Pelosi are retarded. You're charging people 10 cents per paper bag for plastic, which is listed as a plastic bag fee, yet you're putting that tax on paper bags and yet banning plastic bags. Where's the logic in that? Why are you charging people a 10-cent plastic bag fee on paper bags when you've just banned plastic bags to begin with? How stupid are you? Okay, and guess what? There's other states that collect fees and taxes on plastic bags too. Virginia's another one. Like this is right here. This is from Department of Virginia's Taxation and out of Richmond, Virginia. And there's, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 counties that are collecting a nickel tax on every plastic bag at every retailer out there. These 6 counties, and it started July 1st, 2022, are Loudoun County, Falls Church, Roanoke, Alexandria, Fredericksburg, Fairfax, and Arlington, are requiring retailers to collect a new 5-cent tax for each disposable plastic bag they provide customers at checkout. This is the problem. I'm already paying. Thankfully, I'm not in that county and I don't have to pay that. But every time I go up there in those counties, if I get a bag, I get charged a nickel extra for the tax. It don't seem like much, and it really isn't. But when you start getting around 10, 12 bags or 25 bags or something like that, and you buy groceries, that adds up to $1.25 right there, and you go do it someplace else, and someplace else it adds up really quick. And that's just one customer. You get like 10 or 12 customers that do that daily, and you're raking in some dough. It don't seem like much up front, a nickel per bag, but it can add up quick. It used to be like they used to do with the old glass bottles back in the day. You had an incentive to return the old glass bottles, the 16 ounces and whatnot, and you get a nickel back for each one. My dad called them returnables when he worked at Coca-Cola for 8 years. But yeah, you had to go and pick up the bottles, and they would be rinsed, washed, and whatnot. And if they were chipped or half broken, they would be melted down, reused, sanitized, and whatnot, and refilled and whatnot. We kept it going over the years, and unfortunately, they got greedy. The manufacturers did, and decided to go ahead and start using plastic instead of glass. And to me, the soda was way better in the glass than it was the plastic bottles by tenfold. I mean, totally different. Of course, back then, when I was buying soda, I remember when it was made with sugar cane instead of corn syrup. Yeah, I'm old, ladies and gentlemen. But if you want to tell the difference between soda made with sugar cane versus corn syrup, all you have to do is get you a Coca-Cola and a Mexican Coca-Cola, and you'll tell the difference. And there's used to be something called Mountain Dew Throwback. The Mountain Dew Throwback's made with sugar cane instead of corn syrup. And I guarantee you'll like that one way better than the one with corn syrup because it's not as overly sweet and it's not as harsh as it is with the corn syrup. I mean, it makes a huge difference. I mean, you can tell in the taste and whatnot. The Mexican Coca-Cola is made with sugar cane and one of the smoothest Coca-Colas versions of Coca-Cola you'll ever have in your life. I guarantee you that much as well. Now, there's also other states. There's also other things in taxes too. Uh, in addition to the state and federal taxes collected on fuel, there's also town tax, county tax, local taxes. There's also the alcohol tax, which is separate. There's also an extra tobacco tax, which is also separate. Now, if you're living in a state, one of the 12 states that do not have income tax, state income tax, you're still paying more property taxes, and you're also paying more into Social Security tax, which is separate, and than your federal income tax is. Here's the thing, too. MSNBC done a real good, or not MSNBC, CNBC, excuse me, done a real good article about taxes, and it's 12.8% or 12. That's collected total if you're a W-2 employee. Meaning, if you work for somebody and are not a subcontractor, you will pay around 6.4% or 6.6%. I think it's 6.4 I've seen in that specific article. And if you, and while the employer will put in the other half, Social Security tax is around 12.8%, ladies and gentlemen, give or take. So you're paying that extra. Now, here's what I had to do when I was a truck driver and I was a subcontractor for FedEx. I did not get a W-2 like I did with Swifty and these other big companies. I got what's called a 1099 form. This is a owner operator slash subcontractor form, meaning I don't answer to anybody, and I'm not an employee. So basically, what I had to do was I had to keep money in my account every year, and I would have to add up everything for my taxes. Days on the road, how much I spent for food, any fuel expenses I had or repairs. I also had to deal with health care. Let's see, what else? Any motels or hotels I spent time in. Parts, accessories. I mean, I had to keep track of all of it, everything. And I also had to keep my logbooks and go through there for each day and for each one. And it took me about 2 days to put together my taxes. And then the owner I was working for at that time said, "Hey, hold off on this. I'm going to get an extension so and so did not file his taxes again. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. What's he waiting on? I done had mine ready, and I had less time than he did. And thankfully, he ended up quitting and finally done his taxes. He said, okay, go for it. And I said, cool, all I got to do is show up now. And back then, it was only a $60 bill. And it's now, that was the last time I filed taxes as a 1099 was 2004 fiscal year. And this was early 2005. And now, it'll cost you about a $200 bill the guy used to use. I no longer pay taxes because I no longer earn enough income on disability benefits to warrant collecting taxes, so I don't even file. So thankfully, I'm immune from income taxes in that regard. But I'm still paying fuel taxes. I'm still paying sales taxes everywhere else. And the death tax, unfortunately, Joe Biden put that back in place, which was stupid, in my opinion. When families lose a loved one, it's not easy to go through it all. I know. I've been through it not too long ago. And you should not have to pay taxes on someone that passed away. You should. Thankfully, somebody had some sense and told him not to do it to military families and loved ones that served. They're exempt. Thank God. All you have to do is present their DD 214 and you don't pay any taxes on it. And usually you just pay the funeral home for the final expenses, whatever that might be, whether it be cremation or full blown burial. And the military will usually take care of that for you, whatever branch you serve for. My grandfather on my mom's side got a military funeral, and my grandfather on my dad's side, his dad, both World War II veterans, got a military funeral. And I've had several great uncles that were buried not long ago, and great great uncles that also got a full blown military funeral. And all they had to do was present their DD 214, and the rest was taken care of. They still had to pay sales tax, but they didn't have to pay the death tax, thank God, because they're military service. So you might want to look into that to be sure. Each state's going to be different on that. And each state's also going to be different on the DMV taxes and whether or not the penalty is. They've got their own, it's a whole mess. But the Virginia Department of Motor Vehicles employee told me it's pretty much 50 states. They just do it differently than what Virginia does. That's basically all he said. He says it's ridiculous because he got hit with it himself. So even their employees are not immune from it. Ridiculous, huh? So we are taxed to death, and my Canadian friends up to the north, they get raped on taxes and insurance. See, they got that universal health care, which means it's not really universal and don't fit anybody. Because each individual is going to be different needs. And they have to go where they're told for health care issues. And to me, that's retarded. You should be able to go where you're closest and whatever you need. And they're told to go here or go there, and it comes out of their income. Another problem is that they're required to have homeowners insurance. They get raped on it. So our friends to the north up in Canada, they could benefit from tax cuts too, especially at the pump, because they pay more taxes at the pump than we do. No joke. It's just a question of which state and province you're in. The locals in Windsor, Ontario, Canada used to tell me that they pay more taxes for fuel than anybody. I said, not really. We pay just as much as you do. We just happen to get a little bit cheaper before taxes are added. And I said, that's about it. They were kind of shocked about that. Of course, we're talking about 25 years ago plus now, too. Might be a whole different ball of wax up there now. I'm pretty sure that it is, especially with Justin Trudeau up there. I know Canada wasn't too keen on him being put in there and whatnot, and from the sounds of it, it don't look good for him to get reelected either. But The fuel tax, if you eliminated it, I think our economy would definitely do a whole lot better. And our grocery bill would go down, everything else, cost of living, utilities, everything would go down. That's another thing. The cost of living raise is a joke because you only get it from basically maybe a month until your next bill comes out. Guess what happens? Taxes go up on it. You're hit with like 6 different taxes here in America on your cable and satellite bill, FCC, and all kinds of stuff. It take forever to list them all. I think I counted 6 taxes on my electric bill. Usage tax, all of it. So yeah, it's a sad thing, but it is true. Even after death, you can't avoid taxation. All right. Thank you for watching and listening. I'm Stephen A. Davidson, your humble host. Take care of yourselves and each other, and God bless. And I will see you again real soon. Later, ladies and gentlemen.